Hello, and welcome to Marketing Unzipped, the podcast that breaks down complex marketing concepts into actionable insights. I'm Rob Curtis, and today we're diving deep into the topic that's revolutionizing how businesses truly connect with their audiences, and that's content marketing. And before we begin, grab something to take your notes with. It could be your phone, your notepad, your laptop. Throughout this episode, we'll have several moments where I really want you to reflect on your strategy. You know what's fascinating is just how much marketing has evolved. I was chatting with someone the other day who threw the standard comment to me along the lines of, I'm spending a fortune on traditional advertising, but I'm not seeing the results I used to, I need to, and all of those sorts of things. So it just got me thinking, I want you to take a quick thought about your marketing efforts. What's working, what isn't? How do you currently connect with your audience? So with this concept of content marketing, I just want to kind of talk about the evolution, where it's come from, where we're going. And it's been around for centuries, let's face it. If you think of John Deere, they created the Furrow magazine in 1895. That was content marketing. Guinness created the Book of World Records. That was content marketing. So think about your industry. How has the way businesses communicate with customers changed in the last 5 or 10 years? And what content do you consume when making business decisions? What's truly revolutionary is how we deliver value to our audiences. We've moved from buy our product, big sales pieces, to let's help you actually solve your problems. It's like the difference between someone screaming and shouting at you through a megaphone and sitting down with a coffee with a knowledgeable friend. So some of the things we're going to explore today is how content marketing differs from your traditional approaches, the content marketing ecosystem, which formats will work best for you, how to measure success in ways that actually matter to your bottom line, and the future of content marketing and how to prepare for it. As I mentioned, I just want you to have your notepad ready because I want you to really reflect on your content strategy. These moments aren't just theoretical. They're chances to build a practical framework for your business. So straight away, here's the homework. I want you to write down 3 marketing challenges you're currently facing. Keep these in the back of your mind when we explore how content marketing might help solve. Let's start by breaking down what makes content marketing fundamentally different from traditional marketing. Think about the last time you made a significant purchase for your business, or even at home, personal life, wherever it is. Did you immediately buy from an ad you saw? Or did you research, read reviews, watch videos, ask colleagues, friends, mums and dads, the lot? Take a moment to recall that journey. And here's a way to visualize it different. Traditional marketing is like going fishing with a net, hoping to catch as many fish as possible. Whereas content marketing, on the other hand, is like setting up the best aquarium that naturally attracts the exact fish you want. So ask yourself that question. Are you casting a wide net, or are you creating an environment that attracts your ideal customers? What kind of aquarium would appeal to your target audience? So let's break down the fundamental differences between these approaches. Firstly, intent and timing. Traditional marketing interrupts your audience. Think TV adverts during your favorite TV program, or those flaming pop-up ads we all love to hate. Content marketing, however, is something people actually seek out when they need it. So think about your own business. When do your customers typically find you? Is it when they're relaxing and your ad appears, or when they're actively searching for solutions? Secondly, you could think about the value exchange. Traditional marketing is primarily focused on promoting the products or the services. Content marketing, however, it leads with value. You're educating, entertaining, solving problems first, selling second. And number 3, we want to be talking about the numbers because that tells an interesting story about the investment and the returns. Content marketing costs about 62% less than traditional marketing, but can generate 3 times as many leads. However, there's always a catch. It does take longer to see the results. I'm a massive fan of organic marketing. And I think with that content marketing approach, over time, with the right creatives, content value that you're going to give, that will seek you greater success in the long term. Because you're not building a transactional relationship with your audience. You're building a personal relationship with them. So if you consider your marketing budget right now, how much are you spending on interruption-based advertising versus value-based content? Try and write down a percentage split, 60-40, 70-20, 100-0. Let's figure it out. We want to think about the long-term impact of this as well, because that's where things get really interesting. Traditional marketing typically has a really short shelf life. Once an ad campaign ends, its impact disappears. You have to go on to the next thing, continually chasing that site. Content marketing can drive traffic and generate leads for such a sustainable period of time. So let's look at good old Ron Seal. So the wood stain company. So instead of just running TV ads saying it does exactly what it says on the tin, they've now created an entire YouTube channel full of DIY tutorials. These videos solve real problems their customers have. They demonstrate their products in action. They build trust through expertise. And then they've also got, my favorite thing, a permanent library of valuable content. So what problems do your customers face before they even need your product? What could you teach them? Write that down. 3 topics for me that you could create content about. The 5th one is relationship building. So traditional marketing is often, as I mentioned a minute ago, transactional. It's focused on making the sale. Content marketing builds that relationship over time. It's the difference between asking someone to marry you on the first date versus building that meaningful relationship first. So think about your current customers. How did you win their trust? What information did they need before they felt confident buying from you? Number 6, and I love my data, we need to track and measure the performances. So traditional marketing obviously just is most often measured through immediate metrics like sales or leads, where content marketing, it has a broader range of indicators in things like engagement time, return visits to your website, social shares, customer loyalty. Do they keep coming back and buying more? And pieces like authority building. So you could be assessing all your different platforms. And yes, that process still leads to sales, conversions, leads to your business, but it's a longer approach to gain a more sustainable success. So think about your ideal customer. What information would they find so valuable that they'd bookmark it, share it, save it? Definitely one for me is I save so much content on TikTok that just resonates with me. I then spend 20 minutes a week going back through that, reviewing it. What did I learn? What did I want? What did I get from it? And that is so powerful because I'm buying and trusting and believing that individual, that brand more and more and more. So a really quick real life example, let's say, is HubSpot. They're a company that's a marketing software. They've built their entire business on the foundation of content marketing. They've created free marketing academies, comprehensive guides and templates, research reports, active blogs and social channels. The result, they've become the go-to resource for marketing education, building a multi-billion-pound business in the process. And sure, we can do that as a large business with an unlimited budget, but we can take the learnings from that as small businesses or developing and growing businesses to understand the fundamentals in that. So let's move into what I call the content marketing ecosystem, where we're going to explore how to put these principles into action for your specific business. And from this perspective, we're way beyond just blogging and social media. We're talking about a tapestry, if you like, of content formats that work together for creating a truly comprehensive marketing. So before we jump in with each, get your notepad, get your pen, get your Apple Pencil. Others are available. But let's do a quick audit of where you are right now. So what content are you currently creating? What's getting the best response? What feels like it's not worth the effort? And what are the gaps in your content strategy? And finally, what is going on in your competitive landscape? And take a moment to do this. It's important groundwork for what's coming. I often get asked the question of where do I start? What do I do? So let's begin to explore some of the major content types and see how different businesses are using them so effective. So firstly, video content. Hopefully you might be watching this bit on YouTube, which would prove the point. If not, Spotify, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But video has become the powerhouse of content marketing. And here's what most people get wrong. They create a video content without clear strategy. So let me break down how different businesses are using video to drive real results, just to give you an example. So if you're in B2B, you might want to focus on product demonstrations that show complex features in action, step-by-step walkthroughs, integration showcases, feature comparison videos. You could be thinking about thought leadership interviews with industry experts, with insights, trends, technical deep dives, sharing your client success stories, focusing on ROI in those case studies, the implementation journeys, problem solution narratives. So if you're in B2B, think about which of these would resonate most with your clients and write it down. I'll give you a second. Just joking. For those in e-commerce, your video strategy might look completely different. So things like quick product unboxing videos, first impression captures. So somebody opening the box, all that sort of energy and excitement with that. Feature highlights, package experience showcases, user tutorials, let's say, or usage tutorials, getting started guides, features of your product demonstrations, depending obviously is such a broad concept in e-commerce, but troubleshooting walkthroughs. If you're buying some electronic type thing, you might need to take users through that process. Behind the scenes content, product development stories, team introductions, production process sharing. All these pieces here, again, are about allowing people to build a relationship with you, get to understand the brand, understand the business and the people that are behind it. And if you're running a service-based business, process explanation videos, sharing your expertise, service breakdown tutorials, methodology explanations, expected outcome previews. I've already mentioned client testimonials in B2B, but the same concept applies here. Before and after showcases, the challenge and the solution narratives, expert tips, quick wins, industry insights. There's problem-solving guides. So take a quick chance. Just think about your customer's biggest pain point. How could you address that in a video format? Write down 3 for me. 3 video topics that would genuinely help your audience. So one of my favorites is audio content. So I'm listening to this podcast right now with something you might be thinking, I get it. Audio content goes far beyond just podcast. And let me show you what I mean. For professional service providers, you could do mini consulting sessions, quick problem-solving episodes, expert answer series, industry-specific advice capsule, all these examples thrown around, but running through things such as industry analysis updates, market trend breakdowns, competitive landscape insights, what's going on in this world for your customers. And if you're in retail, e-commerce, the shopping guides, product comparison reviews, seasonal buying guides, expert recommendations, origin stories. These pieces don't just have to be on a long-form podcast or even a short-form podcast, but they can be pieces of content that you can share as audio strips to your wider audience. So let's make this a bit more practical than me just throwing out ideas into the ether. Think about your expertise for a moment. What audio content could you create in the next week that would solve a specific problem for your audience, showcase your unique knowledge, be easy to consume on the go? Write down these ideas, and these could easily be your next content pieces. Visual content. So we're used to seeing visuals on your website, which from many experiences over the years are generally static, stock photos that aren't the most engaging, that aren't the most creative. And that standard free stock website, and there are a few that have the same gentleman in a beard. If you've seen them, you know what I'm talking about. It's a fantastic beard, but I see him on a heck of a lot of websites. But with this visual content aspect now, this is where things are beginning to revolutionize again. So we want to use this content to capture the attention of our audience. So for B2B companies, more things like data visualization, more personalized pieces of information that could be more valuable to our audience. So industry trends, infographics, utilizing elements such as statistical storytelling. So the process of X to Y, comparison charts. For more consumer brands, we could be thinking about the brand story visuals. So company timeline graphics, value proposition illustrations, impact showcases, product visualizations, the benefit breakdowns. Instead of just being text on a page or text in a social post, what could we be doing to make these so much more engaging? So think about your most complex offering. How could you explain it purely through visuals? Sketch out a quick concept for me. Document-based content. This is where you build your authority and showcase your real deep expertise. And we've seen lots of these floating around. And for me, they're a great opportunity to delve into a topic that I really want to learn and I really want to develop my understanding of. Those white paper style pieces, and I know you'll be, especially if you're in the B2B space, you're probably shridding away at the thought of white papers, but it's all about the content you have in them and the value you give. So for me in that, industry research, trends and analysis and solution, deep dives, go and solve those problems. You could be having technical documentation. So implementation guides, integration manuals, best practice docs. Again, these are things that your users, your audience will need in the process. So let's get that documentation together to be able to make it easily accessible for them. For those smaller and medium businesses, you could be demonstrating your case studies, allowing people to see the true reflection through that entire process. And some of my favorite bits in this document space is templates and worksheets. So planning tools, assessment frameworks, calculation sheets, all these sort of pieces lead nicely into the educational content area. And it's, to me, that is one of the most powerful tools for building trust, authority, long-term relationships with your audience. And the key is to create structured learning experiences that deliver value beyond just info posts. So even things like online courses, foundational level, that cover the core concepts of your industry. You could then delve into different layers of intermediate and advanced courses and information to share. You could break that down from long form content into micro learning modules. So quick 5-minute videos instead of a hour-and-a-half webinar. But you can decipher what works right for your audience and test that as well, which is brilliant. But the key thing is you want to focus on one specific skill or concept per module. I know I'm bad flitting between ideas as I talk, but if you can break that down, then we know we can help our user navigate to finding the solution you've created to their problem. And even things like lives. So your YouTube lives, Facebook lives, LinkedIn lives, etc. content, and the webinar approach, or just creating an event on Zoom. You can have participants submitting real world challenges, and you can break those down for them and solve those problems, giving them the practical hands-on exercise that can help them solve the problems that they have. As just mentioned, things like webinars, virtual training, all these pieces. If you've created a live version, you recorded it. So brilliant. It's now evergreen content that you can use forever. So I just want you to think about your expertise. What could you teach in 15 minutes in a workshop, an online course that would provide immediate value to your audience? Write that down for me. Community engagement is what I'm talking about. Community content is really beginning to revolutionize how brands connect with audiences. As I've said, my previous experience with this have generally sat in things like Facebook groups. And for years, Facebook groups have been ruined, if I'm honest, by just being sold to, by other members in the group, then just messaging you to pitch their services. And that's not what you want to be driving. You want to be driving this process around building and helping transform your audience into customers by giving that value that content marketing can help you do. So let's explore some of the different ways businesses are leveraging community. So obviously I've mentioned things like forums, discussion boards, those Facebook groups, all those sorts of pieces, which it gives an exclusive space where customers can engage with experts and benefit from your expertise as well as others in the field, in the community, whatever it is. And one example of this that I absolutely love now is School. School is brilliant. I appreciate and I understand as a consumer that I'm in a process to be sold to at some point, but it's when I'm ready. The offer is there if I'd like to. If not, I can continue being a participant in this community. Some people tier it. And what I mean by that is they'll have a free community, a paid community, and then the future upsell of working with whoever owns the community. Again, it's a lovely transition to allow people to come through that journey with you. So when they're ready, they will convert. Some people may stay fans forever, and that's okay. They may contribute forever. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. But things about such as resource libraries, creating dedicated knowledge hubs so your community can find the guides, the FAQs, the templates, or the value that you can give them and share with them. This could simply just be on your website. And even things, just the expert moderation. So ensuring accurate and insightful discussions happen in your industry in these sorts of places. But you could introduce other industry experts into your community, asking them to their contribution as well, asking them questions. It could simply be a live Q&A on a Facebook group where people can ask questions and that person may answer. Again, by you hosting and owning that ecosystem, you're naturally an expertise in your field. So what kind of community could you build around your brands? Take a moment to envision it. One thing I want to stress before I move on is you've got a great opportunity here to create a community for value. Don't ruin it by throwing sales down their throat. For me, one of my favorite parts, again, of this whole content marketing ecosystem is the user-generated content approach. So having video testimonials from people that have worked with you, your social proof showcasing, where you're displaying this UGC content across your website, your emails, your socials, engaging people in challenges in your communities, let's say, or even just in your social channels, as a place to go, or comment or ask for comments on your YouTube, your Spotify, your podcasting, your everywhere that you can be on your website to get that feedback, because that is so valuable. And then using that to create new content. It is some of the most rewarding process, not just for your business sales, but actually for your content creation as well. One of my favorites is a good old-fashioned Ask Me Anything event. As I said earlier on, in your community, bring those industry experts into your community. In that community as well, it takes nothing more than your phone with a camera pointed at you, which you can introduce people into the insights of the day-to-day of your business with sneak peeks, early community access to products, platforms, softwares, all sorts of different things. What are some of the ways you can engage your audience beyond traditional content? Take a moment to list a few of those ideas. This next piece is something that's really interesting, because I've mentioned lots of things in here about lots of ideas to make more people aware of you. But then we actually want to think about, if they're ready to be taken on a sales journey, the next step, how do we truly do that? And this is quite often coined as the sales enablement. So this is where content directly drives revenue by guiding potential buyers through their purchasing decisions. So this bridges that gap between the marketing and the sales team. And if you're a business of one, that's from your marketing process to your sales process, and making sure you're equipping your customers with the right information at the right time. So here, these are things that could be along the lines of product comparisons. So visual charts highlighting the differences between solutions, more detailed features and customization tools. So you could have some interactive elements that allow customers to compare features based on their needs, especially in the process of AI. And I've been talking for a while, so that's the first mention of AI, but you can generate so much feedback for a customer based on really defining what they're looking for. Creating things like benefit-driven content, so showing real-world applications of instead of just listing your specs. Customer-centric messaging, so positioning comparisons in a way that focuses on user needs rather than versus your competitors. Things like the buying guides, addressing those common objections, implementation planning. I've touched on a few of these earlier. One of my favorites is a calculator. I've said it multiple times already on all these early podcasts, but allowing buyers to estimate the long-term benefits before making that purchase. So look at your sales process now. Where do prospects typically get stuck? There is your perfect opportunity for that sales enablement content. So they've signed, they've purchased, they've done whatever. We've got to think about the next step now. So what is the post-sale engagement? This is about your customer experience. This is the difference between them staying and working with you long-term if it's a subscription model, purchasing from you again if it's a product. And we really want to hone in on how we can build that and craft that relationship perfectly well. So things like onboarding tutorials, exclusive tips and advice based on working with you or utilizing the product, loyalty and referral programs in this as you build a relationship with them, encourage them to engage and share with other people. Next purchase for them could be 10%, or actually if you refer somebody, we send you a voucher for X, or you receive X percentage off your next month's subscription. All these sorts of pieces are all about building relationships. So we've essentially gone through a very high level version of a content marketing into sales, into ongoing relationship building parts. So we want to think about how we can really integrate your content ecosystem. So naturally, it works best when it's all interconnected, forming a strategic ecosystem rather than isolated pieces. For those that have listened to episodes before, I've talked a lot about this on how we can bring all these things together. Don't just get stuck in one tactic of marketing. The key to this is to ensure that your content marketing strategy has different formats that complement and reinforce one another. So think about how we can map your content flow. So pick up your pen. Let's figure this out. Start with your core pillar content. This could be a long form article, a comprehensive guide, a long form video, whatever works as a starting point. And break that down into micro content. This is exactly why I'm creating this longer form piece of content now and recording it, is I know that we can segment this into smaller key snippets for our social media, our email pieces, short and other short form videos. Repurpose for these different formats. Transform a webinar into a blog post, or a blog post into a infographic. There's all these different areas that you can utilize. And then you want to think about how we interlink across all these platforms to ensure all content types are connected, drive engagement across multiple touch points. And then we want to think about the cross-promotion strategy, let's call it. So email marketing integration. So using your email campaigns to promote your blog content, your video content, your community discussions, finding the nuggets that are going on in this whole ecosystem and how we can bring that together. Having things like your social media teasers. So repurpose content highlights into simple, engaging social posts to drive traffic back to full-length formats. Simply put, I could cut one 20-second segment out of what I'm talking about here with a call to action to go and delve and learn more to watching the next episode. The website content hubs exercise is one of my favorites because for me, and it's something I've said for many, many years, your website is the closest thing to a digital asset you'll ever own. And for me, that is so important because yes, it may change, it may evolve, you'll redesign, redevelop. Some point in the future, we don't even need computers. We'll be watching them through our glasses, all those sorts of things. But actually, it is the only place you can control what content exists versus all of those social channels, search engines, anywhere else, even a billboard on a wall of a building. They might want to take the billboard down. You want to be able to control where your content is stored. So thinking about where your content is distributed across all these channels, bringing it back to your hub, bringing people into your community to access that data and information is where you can really own your audience. So one thing, it wouldn't be me if I don't jump into some of the performance data, let's say, and the analytics. So just make sure throughout this process, you're monitoring different stats that are relevant to that entire journey, not just the sales and lead part. We know that's crucial. We know that's important. But what we're trying to build here is an evergreen ecosystem. I love the E's today, but the evergreen ecosystem that is going to bring people in that don't know you, build relationships, to give them value, build their trust again, to potentially then convert into sales, leads opportunities, to allow them to align to your brand, to then even further, how do I keep that relationship, to keep them as a client or to upsell them future products? We want to be thinking about these metrics. So they'll be in different channels. It will be things like your engagement rates. It will be your shares, your comments, your engagement pieces of that are so valuable. Delving into conversion metrics of, okay, have they downloaded X? Have they signed up for Y? Before they've even bought your product, before they've even signed up for your service. There's so many different layers to that. But for your website, heat maps is one of my favorite things because you can see how people interact with your content. You can see where people go across your web pages to actually understand, are the things that I'm doing right? So if you could go and take a look at your most recent piece of content, how could you repurpose it into at least 3 different formats? Write down those ideas. By thinking holistically about your content marketing strategy, you can create a seamless experience that delivers consistent value across multiple channels. The more interconnected your content ecosystem is, the stronger your audience engagement and business impact will be. So in the UK, I just wanted to talk about a couple of brands that have mastered the art of content marketing, setting benchmarks for engagement, storytelling, and brand loyalty. And that's exactly what the Lad Bible Group and Sainsbury's are doing such an incredible job of. So let's take a quick look at the Lad Bible Group. This started off many years ago with just nonsense chat about football and things like that. That was where I engaged with this. But the Lad Bible Group is one of the UK's most influential digital publishers, known for its viral, engaging, and socially conscious content. Their content strategy thrives on audience interaction, humor, and powerful social messaging. So what are they doing right? User-generated content. Lad Bible encourages audience to submit their own stories, memes, viral moments, creating an authentic and relatable brand presence. Social good campaigns. They're trying to make a difference in the world by engaging their audience with their social good campaigns. This focuses on things like their mental health or their plastic-free pledge. That's a mouthful. It advocates things like sustainability. This establishes the Lad Bible Group as a purpose-driven media brand. And that, with our current audience bases across multiple different sectors, is a very powerful way to demonstrate how they're trying to make a difference. What I love about what they do is they track the engagement analytics across all their platforms. They refine their content approach based on real-time insights. So you'll see trends in the type of content they're creating because they know that in this current period of time, this is how our users want to be served their content. Doesn't mean they stop the other areas because they want to learn from those as things change and adapt, but they'll hone in on a type of social content, for example. It could be UGC content or with someone talking straight into their phone or more humorous content and filming of an external example of what's going on, or maybe obviously me talking football again, but more sport pieces that are focusing on, let's say, the World Cup, because that's what's going on in the world next year. But it gives us a conversation piece in there to be able to hone in on. So what's really interesting to this audience about the World Cup, let's say? Brilliant. Let's go have a bit of nostalgia as an example. Let's go back and watch England win the 1966 World Cup and fail at multiple afterwards. But one day, 2026, here we come. But how they really do this as well across so many platforms. They absolutely crush it on TikTok, Insta, Facebook, YouTube. They are everywhere. They're optimizing engagement throughout short form and long form content. Their ability to be quick and adaptive and capitalize on viral trends and breaking news ensures their content remains culturally relevant and widely shared. So they did some great work with You OK Mate. It's a mental health awareness initiative that resonated deeply with young audiences, breaking down stigmas and driving social conversation. Things like the First Time Voter Hub, a campaign encouraging young people to participate in elections, offering easy to digest political content and registration guidance. If you went back and did some research into how Lab Bible started, not in a million years would I envisage that they will try to help young people voting for the first time. But this is, again, how they've adapted and evolved their value they're giving to their audience to stay current. At the end of the day, they've built a content model that thrives on authenticity, humor, and just personal purpose. And their audience-first strategy ensures that every piece of content resonates deeply, creating an engaged and loyal following that shares, comments, and contributes to their brand's conversations. So whilst we know the Lab Bible Group have absolutely blown up over these past few years, a heck of a lot longer than that actually, but they've blown up completely. And that might not be your ideal goal as a business to think, I want to take over the world. But think about your brand's audience. How could you leverage user-generated content or trending topics to build stronger engagement? Now let's get into Sainsbury's, the storytelling that builds emotional connection. Sainsbury's has transformed its content marketing strategy by focusing on high-quality storytelling, seasonal campaigns, and community-driven engagement. The things they're doing right. We know Christmas campaigns are an ever-growing conversation anyway, but their advertisements such as 1914 and The Big Night, Google them if you haven't, they're really cool. They blend emotion with cinematic storytelling to captivate audiences. We know John Lewis started that trend, but what they've done is they've recognized it with their own spin, and that is absolutely terrific. Things like food and lifestyle content through blogs, video tutorials, social media content. They inspire customers with meal ideas, cooking techniques, sustainable food choices, sharing and highlighting their sustainability and ethical sourcing, their commitment to reducing food waste, supporting UK farmers, promoting that ethical sourcing. They strengthen brand trust and credibility. And then how they distribute this across so many different channels, their in-store promotions, email newsletters, digital campaigns to ensure their content reaches customers at multiple touch points. And then how they even begin to personalize these content strategies. So they obviously have access to so much data that they can use their customer purchase data to tailor recipe recommendations, promotions, product highlights, enhancing the user experience and so much more personalization. What's the point in advertising to me to sell something about kids' socks? I don't want to buy kids' socks. My kids aren't going to wear funky socks that I want them to. They're going to want the standard ones they want that fit with their current trend in trainers. But having that personalized approach to me now makes me more engaged with them because they're giving me the value that makes me want to engage back. I've touched on the 1914 Christmas ad, but please do check it out. But it was a moving short film recreating World War I Christmas truce, illustrating the brand's focus on emotional storytelling. Some of their other campaigns are Waste Less, Save More, a campaign encouraging consumers to reduce food waste with practical tips and recipes using leftovers. This works because Sainsbury's go beyond transactional marketing. They focus on building a deep emotional connection with their customers through nostalgia, shared values, and practical value-driven content. Whether it's through heartwarming Christmas ads or simple meal preps, their content, it just remains relevant and impactful. To take a moment to think about how can your brand use storytelling to create a deeper emotional connection with your audience. For me, in the SME community, I would encourage you to think about how you can share your story in this process, because we want to build trust with our audience. They want to know that the person they may pick up the phone for as an inquiry is the same person that they're going to be communicating to via these social channels. It gives you a great opportunity to have that deeper emotional connection with your audience. And I'd already thrown in a little bit of comments earlier on around analytics, and I just want to cover them again very briefly, I promise. But just take a moment to think and take stock of how you currently measure success. What numbers do you track, and what numbers do you wish you understood better? So let's break this down to how we can understand engagement depth. And I coin it as the engagement pyramid. At the base, we have the surface metrics, views, likes, shares. But as we move up, we obviously get to the metrics that really, really matter for us as business owners. Once we've gone from those social media likes, those follow counts, those page views, etc., we can then start looking at interactive engagement. So things like content, discussions, content shares, save rates. Into level 3, that deep engagement, time spent with content, return visitor rate, content completion rates. Now we're seeing a real connection with your audience. Level 4, conversion engagement. So lead generation, sales influence, customer lifetime value. This is where we begin to get directly into the things that really matter to your bottom line. So take a moment to audit your content. What percentage hits each level? Write down your estimates. Don't get stuck and lost in the data. And believe me, I've been there a lot. But we can delve into those pieces later on. Let's get your gut feels, because then we've got a starting base, because we can run off of so many different layers of that. Things like engagement time. You could be talking about average reading time for a blog post, scroll depth percentage. Can't even say that. Return visitor rate. Like, there's so many different layers of this. When we think about your video content and analytics, we can think about the drop-off rates, the rewatch rates, the action metrics, so click-through rates on those videos, lead quality from those video views, the percentage of people that share those videos. There's all sorts of different things. The same with audio content. So let's begin to understand that listening behavior. Are our subscribers growing? What are the episode download trends? We've created lots of different content about lots of different things. What's actually engaging our audience? What are they staying around for? What has been listened to the most? This can then give you ideas of what you create next. But most importantly, you can begin to get a starting point on the first indications of what success looks like across each of these platforms. And I promise I'll stop talking about data. But as we start to look towards the future of content marketing, to me, it's so exciting. We don't know what the future holds, but what we can do is we can continue the trends of value that have happened since John Deere in 1895 and the Guinness World Records. That process is just ever blossoming, and we're introducing new tactics along the way of how we share and deliver this to our audience. So take a moment just to think about how your content marketing has evolved in the last year. What changes have you already noticed? And if you haven't done anything, what's the next step you want to take? I've touched on how Sainsbury's really crush it with that hyper-personalized content experience. For me, that is one of the most exciting parts of how, particularly in that e-commerce landscape and that access to data that these brands can have based on what you've previously purchased, all these sorts of pieces, we can begin to determine what interests you and gives value. Just imagine that content that automatically adapts based on your reader's industry, their position in the buying journey, previous interactions with your brand, their specific challenges and goals. Let's say someone visits your website. Based on their behavior, the content automatically adjusts, showing different case studies, changing terminology used, even restructuring the layout to match their preferences. That's some quite quirky pieces in there, but that's where things could potentially grow to. Think about your current content. How could you make it more adaptable to different audience segments? Even in those simple examples that I shared earlier around Sainsbury's, again, it was just their email marketing sequences as an example. They could be retargeting people on Facebook with certain ads based on products they've previously purchased. You can start to make these adaptations to your marketing without having to reinvent the whole thing. I think I've only mentioned AI once today, so I'm throwing that in the mix. But having that delicate balance between AI and human collaboration. AI handles that research piece for you. We as humans can then focus on the strategy and the emotional connection. Again, a third way of how things are developing in the future of content marketing is those immersive content experiences. So we're seeing more and more and more of live events going back out into reality. Forget the COVID malarkey. Let's get back out into the community. So being out and about and having a real life experience is one thing, but even virtual reality pieces of training content. Have a think about your immersive content for your business. Imagine if you were a small construction company and you want to be able to show people how things will look. So you'll have your visuals created. You could improve that entire process by, when you're visiting your customers, show them a virtual reality version with a headset of this is what your kitchen could look like. This is what your garden could look like. Whatever it is, there's so many different steps in that we can improve that process. It doesn't have to be for life-changing costs either. For me, something that excites me a lot is what I coined as the micro content ecosystems. So instead of creating that isolated piece, we come back to that interconnected content system, but having that based on a much more granular level than we offer this as a service. This is all of this information. Take one segment of your content or of your service and delve into that, because actually this is the piece that this customer is interested in. Let's go as far down in the rabbit hole of supporting information, value, and content, because they don't care about the 3 or 4 other things you do or the 20 other products. This is what they want. Again, personalization, giving them this entire ecosystem of value that brings that energy back to them to make them want to buy and love your brand. And I think especially, again, with AI, where things are evolving in the development space for that, but things like voice and conversational content, think about how we can create voice optimized content for things like your smart speakers, conversational search responses on your website, contact on your website live chats, for example, voice activated content navigation, depending on maybe on a product or a platform you've got online that people can interact around. That isn't just a generic video. It could be another layer down of this is adapted based on what you're looking at. There's so many different pieces in that we can begin to delve into, and it's something that excites me. I think the biggest thing here is around how you grow your community. And all of those pieces of user-generated content, community contribution, the co-creations, work with other people, work with your community to give them more experience and more value to what you offer. I think one thing that's really important though is throughout this process is how you build a sustainable content strategy. And this is about creating content that has long-term value. It refreshes, updates automatically, evolves your audience, builds compound returns. So let me show you how this works. Instead of creating new content constantly, you can build evergreen core pieces, regular data updates, community interactions, ongoing optimizations. So look at your current content. Which pieces could become sustainable assets with the right structure? So when you think about that, what piece of content isn't going to change too far or can take small changes to keep refreshed? That piece of content you can recycle again and again and again. We see this all the time in our TikTok content that we work with clients on. The fact that we'll publish one piece of content today and it will do okay, it will do good. But actually we'll publish it again in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 10 weeks time, 2 months time. And actually the same piece of content, not even modified, has a 10x output. And which is insane because actually it's just landed at the right time for our audience. And that's what we're trying to provide here. But that value in that original content still has, as Matt, our head of creative, will say, so many legs. And that's what we want to give this. So take a look at your current content and just think about what you can create that's sustainable, that you can use again and again and again. So just as a reminder, let's think about how you can prepare for this entire process. Here's how you can get ready to make these changes. So audit your current content. What's working now? What needs to evolve? Where are the gaps? Invest in the right tools. Think about your content management systems, analytics platforms, any AI-powered tools, any automation platforms you want to build in. So there's platforms like Airtable, or even just a Google Sheet, an Excel sheet, just to document and list out everything that you want to create. Writing your content out, getting it ready, what platforms you're going to schedule it on, all of these pieces is really, really pivotal. What platforms they're going on, everything like that is so, so powerful. And also, if you're a growing team, one bit of advice I'd give you is build your skills pipeline. So understand where you're at now. Think about yourself. If it's just yourself, what are you good at? And what do you need more support with? Can that be outsourced? Can that be a hire? Could that simply be, I'm terrible at editing my videos on CapCut. Can I go online and find someone on Fiverr that can do that for me? There's so many different things in there that you can begin to think about, or even look at partnership opportunities. Think about, okay, we'll work with an agency, or we'll go and work with a freelancer. I keep saying video, but a freelancer content writer that can convert my video into the social content that I want, because I don't want to use AI, or I can use AI to do that. There's all these sorts of conversations you can have to begin to think about, right, what skills, tools, everything do I have in one place? What that should give you is the plan to step forward with your content marketing. But before we wrap up today's episode, I want to hear from you. What's been your most successful piece of content and why do you think it works so well? Share your story with me on socials or in the comments. Your insights and experiences help shape these discussions and bring value to the entire community with Marketing Unzipped. I'd like to ask you for just one favor. If you know someone struggling with their content marketing strategy, maybe a business owner, somebody already in marketing, or even just a content creator, send them this episode. Your share could be the turning point that helps them build a better content strategy. So that's it for today. I'm Rob Curtis, and this has been Marketing Unzipped. Remember, effective content marketing isn't about creating more noise. It's about creating meaningful conversations that really resonate with your audience. Focus on quality over quantity, value over volume, and connection over clicks. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep creating content that matters.